Hey folks, it's Jay with Jay's Cryptic Creatures. Today we'll be discussing the husbandry and rehousing of my Pamphobeteus species duran. This particular genera of tarantulas are relatively fast growing, reaching nearly 8 inches or 8 inches plus at adulthood, hailing from South America. I got this particular specimen from Steve at Arachnoiden back in September of 2022. Let's take a look at this rehousing and discuss a little bit more detail the husbandry.
So here we go, folks. This is the rehousing of the Pamphobeteus species duran. Um, as you can see, we have a little bit of hair kicking, which is not uncommon for a new world terrestrial tarantula. You always want to keep that to a minimum if at all possible. Uh, as a sling, this was housed in a 16-ounce deli cup with some moist substrate, cork bark hide, and some fake plants for coverage. What I observed is as a sling, there wasn't much burrowing, which is a little bit unique because you typically see that from slings. Also, I'll put up an image that a Pamphobeteus sling is not the quote unquote boring brown sling. The slings actually have a fantastic Christmas tree pattern on their abdomen. As mentioned previously, Pamphobeteus are relatively fast growing and an upgraded enclosure was needed in short order. As a young juvenile, it was transferred into a small critter keeper that measured about 9.5 by 6 by 6.5 with several inches of moist substrate, included a cork bark hide, fake plants, and a water dish. Unlike the sling, I did observe significant amount of burrowing. Unfortunately, as he transitioned from sling to juvenile, they lose the Christmas tree booty, but species duran replaces that Christmas tree with bright, brilliant purples. As we can see here, we have the tarantula safely secured inside the catch cup, and what we're going to do is bring over the new enclosure, which is a medium-sized critter keeper that measures approximately 12 inches by 7.5 inches by 8 inches or so tall. Inside of the enclosure, we have about 3 inches of moist substrate. It's a combination of reptisoil, vermiculite, sphagnum moss, and leaf litter, a cork bark hide, some fake plants for coverage, and a water dish. This enclosure should be good for several molts until the final move into the adult enclosure. Due to the nature of the size as an adult, a 5 to 10 gallon enclosure should be ideal. As we can see here, I had a little bit of an issue with my poking holes inside of my catch cup. We need to make those a little bit larger so we can avoid this on the next go around. However, with a little bit of quick thinking and a nice calm tarantula, what he decided to do was take off the lid and gently poke the tarantula down into the bottom. We should certainly note too that Pamphos are fantastic eaters and the response is phenomenal. As slinged, they easily took down several small crickets. They will bolt around the enclosure, gobbling them up. It was a blast to watch them hunt. I would feed the slings once a week. As a juvenile, as seen here, I tend to feed once a week or once every other week depending. Typically at this size, I lean more towards superworms as I have them readily available on hand for my tegu. Plus, I find the superworms are easier to take care of than crickets. So we now have the tarantula just gently scooting down into his new enclosure. And like I said, this should be able to be maintained for more than several molts. Unfortunately, the camera does not pick up the brilliant purples that come out crossed on the setae, or the hairs on the tarantula, along with the legs. As this tarantula begins to mature, if it in fact is a male, and I suspect that it is from a previous molt, you will begin to see much more brilliant purples throughout its legs and carapace.
So I'd call that a pretty successful rehousing. Got the spider from point A to point B. No escapes, no fuss. A little fumbling there, trying to get him out of the initial hole, but all good. Pamphobeteus as a whole is a great tarantula. I'm having a blast growing this guy up. Definitely a tarantula that is taking the next step up from your quote unquote beginner species. Big tarantula. You just have to keep in consideration the size and making sure you keep the substrate moist to allow for this guy to grow. So thank you. Please like, subscribe, and come along and let's learn more about tarantulas and snakes and other cryptic creatures together. Cheers.